Welcome to the Survivor to Thriver show with your happiness expert, Samia Bano. Do you feel stuck, silent, and stressed all the time? Is something hurting your heart and soul? Are you burning yourself out? Then you're in the right place, because this is the podcast people from all over the world join in to learn exactly how to stop suffering and start living with inner peace and joy. Let's get started. All right, I'm so happy to have you back with me because today is going to be an extra awesome podcast episode because we're talking about something that I love to talk about. Last episode, we started talking about this idea that if you correct your mind, the rest of your life will fall into place. This is a saying from ancient Chinese wisdom, and it is very, very true. It's actually been proven now, even through scientific research in areas of psychology and so forth. And so I was actually sharing with you last episode how we learn about it in a modern context, where, through research in psychology, they've established this causal chain that leads to your behavior, that explains what leads to your behavior and your results. So the causal chain, I was telling you yesterday, is on the one end, it starts with your beliefs. Your beliefs generate your thoughts. Your thoughts generate your feelings generate your behavior, and your behavior produces your results. Okay? And the really good news about the way this causal chain works, that is good news according to me, is that it works the other way as well. So your behavior can actually causally impact your emotions. Your emotions can causally impact and change your thoughts, and your thoughts can causally change your beliefs. This is good news because it gives us lots of options. Lots more options for how we can create change in our lives. So I was giving you the example of, let's say you are feeling really crappy, right? And the reason I'm picking on this part of the chain is because most of us are not even aware of what our beliefs are that are underlying the thoughts and the emotions and the behaviors that we are experiencing. Most of us are just not aware of what our beliefs are. Most of us are also not aware of the thoughts that keep running through our minds that generate the emotions and the behaviors and the results that we experience in our lives. We're just thinking things, and most of the time, we don't know what we are thinking. Or we don't know how that thinking is impacting us. Actually, research shows that most people, like for a normal person on an average day, 40 to 50% of all the thoughts that go across your mind, that come to your mind, that you think, all thoughts that you think on any given day, 40 to 50% of those thoughts are unoriginal. You have thought those thoughts before. In general, you have thought them many times before. It's just part of how the brain works. You see, the more you think of something, the more you think of it. The more likely it becomes that you're going to be thinking more of it in the future as well. It's just because of the way the brain works. I don't know if I should get into that whole explanation right now. I don't feel like it, so I won't. But just trust me on this, that the way our brain works, it has this like reinforcing mechanism, this reinforcing pattern that develops. So the more you think about something, the stronger that thought pattern becomes in your mind, in your brain, and the stronger a thought pattern is, the more often it'll be stimulated, the more often it'll be triggered, and therefore you will end up thinking those same thoughts more often. And the more often you think them, the stronger the pattern becomes. The stronger the pattern becomes, the more often you think them. The more often you think them, the stronger the pattern becomes. Right? So it's like this reinforcing cycle. And there's nothing that we can really do about it. It's just part of how the brain is. It's just part of how the brain works. I mean, I don't know of any way to change the way the brain works in that, at that level. So in the absence of being able to change the way the brain works at this very fundamental level, what's the option that we have if we want to be in control of our mental, emotional experiences? Well, even though we cannot change the way the brain works, we are understanding how it works, and then we can therefore work in ways that allow us to produce the kind of results we want, right? So we know this is the brain works. This way of the brain working can get us in trouble if the thoughts we are thinking are negative thoughts. Negative in the context of they trigger an emotional response that causes stress, that causes unhappiness, that causes us to experience have an emotional experience that we don't want. Okay, so for example, if you are thinking, no one loves me, I don't deserve love, I'm not worthy of love, that's why no one loves me, I've made all these mistakes in my life, or I'm so pathetic, I'm so weak, that's why no one loves me, oh God. So you keep thinking these kinds of thoughts, and of course, what's the emotional reaction that will occur for you if you're thinking these thoughts? Well, I mean, you're going to feel really sad, you're going to feel depressed, you're going to feel disempowered, you're going to feel alone and isolated. Okay, and the thing is that the more you think these thoughts, the more you're going to think these thoughts. Because you then enter into this reinforcing pattern, right? So it can really take you down into this downward spiral. And the downward spiral, it's like, whoa, it takes you down really fast. So it's like, okay, well, we know this is just how the brain works. So we can get into a lot of trouble if you are thinking negative thoughts. But the good news is that if you understand this way of the brain working, well, the good news about it is that if you are thinking positive thoughts, the brain still works the same way. It'll enter into a reinforcing pattern with the positive thoughts. So the more you think positive thoughts, the more you'll think positive thoughts. The more you think positive thoughts, guess what? Because our thoughts generate our emotional responses, you will generate positive emotions for yourself. The more you think positive thoughts, the more you generate positive emotions. The more you generate positive emotions, the more you generate positive thoughts, because not only do your thoughts impact your emotions, but your emotions impact your thoughts, right? So we can use this understanding of how the brain works to our advantage, so that instead of having negative experiences and getting stuck in a negative downward spiral, we can actually create a positive upward spiral for ourselves and get stuck in this positive upward cycle where things just get better, better, and better, and better. Woo! It's awesome. And it's absolutely real. It's absolutely true. You can absolutely do this. Hey, I've done it in my life. I know a lot of other people who have done it in their lives. And there's a science to it. There really is. This is not some kind of like voodoo magic. This is like established with scientific research. It's because there's a way that things are. There's a way that our brain works. Once we understand the rules, then we can work with them in a way that helps us to produce the kind of results we want. That's how all of science works. Science is not making things up. Science did not invent the idea of gravity. It did not create the force of gravity. It only observed the patterns in which things act, right? And we say, oh, it appears that there's this force that pulls things towards it. So when you throw something up, it comes back down. So you observe the patterns that are existing in nature, that are existing in our world, in our universe, within our psychology. Once you understand what those patterns are, what the rules are, then you can work with them. So it's like, now that we understand better how gravity works, we're able to work around it and work with it so that we don't have to remain earthbound. We now have so many different ways in which we can fly. We can fly using planes and parachutes and hot air balloons and hang gliders and rockets and all these kinds of awesome things. And we didn't get there, we didn't achieve the ability to be able to fly by fighting or ignoring the way things are, the patterns and the laws of physics that exist. We achieved these results, these awesome feats, by understanding what is and playing in alignment with the rules, the laws as they exist. The same thing is true of our human psychology. There is a way that our brain works. There's a way that our bodies work. There's a way that our soul and our heart function. And if you can understand what those ways are, what the rules are that constrain the functioning of our mind, body, heart, and soul, then we can figure out ways to work in alignment with them in such a way that we are able to produce the results that we desire. So I hope you got a little taste of that as I was talking through today's episode. Remember, I just love this quote, so I'm going to say it again, the one we started with. If you correct your mind, the rest of your life will fall into place. See, because when you correct your mind, what are you correcting? You're correcting your emotions, you're correcting your thoughts, you're correcting your beliefs. All of these things together are what is driving your behavior. And your behavior is what's producing your results. So if you can correct your mind by correcting your beliefs and your thoughts and your emotions, then you can correct your behavior. If you can correct your behavior, you can change your results for the better. Isn't that amazing? Isn't that wonderful? This is why I just love talking about this, because I find it so empowering. It's so exciting. It's like, yes, I love control in my life. And this is the key to achieving control of my life, of our lives, of our experiences. The correction of our mind. Correct your mind and the rest of your life will fall into place. You know, the sad thing is that the vast majority of us, the way we live our life, we have our priorities upside down. It's like we want to change our life. We want we want our life to fall into place, and we work on it in all kinds of ways, but we never think to correct our mind. See, we are completely focused on the external. We're focused on trying to change our behavior. We're focused on trying to change our results. But we don't think to change our minds, to correct our minds in order to make that happen. So that's why we struggle with accomplishing that change, accomplishing that transformation, because we are not addressing the root cause of why we are having those undesired results. You know, there's a saying also that in order to change the fruit, you have to change the root. In order to change the fruit, you have to change the root. What's the root? The root is your mind. The fruit are your results. So if you don't have what you want in your life right now, meaning you're not getting the fruit that you want, you have to first change the roots. You have to correct your mind first. And most people don't think like that. Most people don't even realize that's what they're missing. So of course then they cannot take that action. They cannot redirect their attention to a focus on correcting their mind first. But now you know. So you don't make this mistake anymore. If you want to change the reality of your life, if you want to experience any kind of transformation in your life, if you want to achieve a life where you can stop suffering and just be living in our peace and joy, I don't know what your current set of priorities is, but you need to make sure that you make the correction of your mind your number one priority. Because if you don't correct your mind, you're going to continue to struggle with trying to achieve the transformation and the results you want. If you focus first on correcting your mind, the rest of your life will fall into place. Isn't that beautiful? Isn't that amazing? All right, so now the question for you is, how are you going to correct your mind? Do you have the right knowledge, the right skills, and the right systems to do that? If you do not have the right knowledge, the right skills, and the right systems to do that, you are going to struggle to create the change you want. You're going to struggle to correct your mind. So the next question is, if you're missing the knowledge, the skills, or the systems to correct your mind, where are you going to go learn and acquire what you're missing? Where are you going to do it? And I'm going to tell you, hey, one source you can come to is me. Right? Because I have spent the last 24 years of my life working on this. And now it's the mission of my life to share what I've learned with you. So please, I'm inviting you to learn from my experience, to take advantage of my hard-earned wisdom and connect with me and ask me how you can too get access to the right knowledge, right skills, and the right systems in your life. And not just get access to them like you learn the theory of it, but how do you actually implement it in your life so that you can begin to see the results that you desire. All right, so you know how to get in touch with me, right? Go to my website, www.academyofthriving.com. Click on the Contact Us page, and then you can schedule a phone call or shoot me an email. Or you can also connect with me via Facebook or Twitter if you prefer. But do it. Just get in touch with me and ask me how can I make this happen for me? And I would love to chat with you about that. So until we connect next time, I'm going to go ahead, wrap up right here, and wish you lots of peace and joy.